Welcome to Boys of Summer. I'm your host, Paul Arnold, and I'm joined by my two buddies, Gene Gums and Eric Braun. We're all guys over the age of 50. So, Gene, before we get started on the podcast tonight, I want to ask you, have you had your blood pressure checked lately?
Not in the last few months, no.
Okay.
Why?
Have you seen your cardiologist lately?
I don't have one of those. My heart's in pretty good shape. I don't need one, at least not yet.
Okay. Well,
Although the Red Sox are trying to make it so that I'll need one soon, but
this is the point, folks. Gene has a morning show every morning, pretty much during the week, at sportscountry.net, and I listen to it, and I swear he's going to blow a blood vessel anytime in that show. He's been so frustrated by the Boston Red Sox, whom he loves, by Major League Baseball in general. I thought he needed a little therapy. That's what we're going to do tonight, Eric. We're going to let Gene have a little therapy to lower that blood pressure.
So we're going to be a kinder, gentler podcast.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, man.
Oh, are we venting? Are we getting it all out? Is it one of those?
It's sort of a combination therapy session. Maybe we'll find some things to laugh about.
I would think that as much as the Astros have been struggling, I would think that Eric's got a little to vent about as well.
I don't care that much about the Astros.
He's a Royals fan. He's a Royals fan.
But you live in Houston, so you're living it.
True. Yeah, well, I'm starting to distance myself a little bit from the Astros.
Eric's still living on the high of the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl.
Exactly. I have very few sports worries right now.
Hey, that's a good way to go. We haven't had a podcast for a while, but our last podcast we talked about the Houston Astros and the cheating, and I thought that story was going to die down, and good old Commissioner Manfred just opened up a whole bunch of controversy with his comments, calling the trophy just a piece of metal, and even LeBron James is weighing in on this whole thing. Guys, do you think this is just a case that we're not into March Madness yet, or do you think that this is a real story that the commissioner has to step it up one more step? And I'll start with Gene.
Well, I don't think this has anything to do with. This is not going away. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, whether we have March Madness or not, if you're involved in baseball and you love baseball, or you love professional sports in general, and you're talking about something that goes to the core of the game, where you are cheating the core of the game. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why LeBron James has stepped in. If he found out somebody was cheating in the NBA, it would be the same kind of thing. I mean, I think this goes a lot deeper than just baseball. This goes to the core of what we believe in. I mean, look, we've had cheating scandals in college basketball before. You know, we go all the way back to the Black Sox. There's been some gambling issues in the NFL before. This is something that I think that we take our sports very seriously in this country. So I don't think it's going away. I don't think March Madness is going to make this quiet down. I think the only thing that's going to make this quiet down is the first couple of months of the season going away. Until Houston has made a round of the major leagues and every fan has had a chance to yell at them and or put up as many signs in the stands as they want to have. Until that happens, this isn't going away.
Right, and I think the careers or the legacies of Altuve and the Houston Astros are going to be always tainted by this. Eric, the reason I brought up March Madness is some people believe there's media cycles, and this has fallen into a really interesting media cycle. And in some ways, we're talking about baseball more than we ever have for the wrong reasons. Do you think this is mostly media cycle for the non-big-time baseball fans?
No, I think Gene kind of outlined sort of a best-case scenario. You know, you look at it, the way this season's going to go. Yeah. You know, best case scenario, you know, there's just highlights of the Astros showing up to every stadium and either, maybe it's just signs shown their way and not, pitches at their heads. But, should there be some fisticuffs and other, things going on, which is, even if it's, accidental, it's going to be a big deal. So this thing's got legs. It's going to last all season long. Every time there's any sort of a kerfuffle with the Astros, it's gonna be big news. It may as far as a national story, on the nightly news or whatever, it might calm down, but it's going to keep popping up all year long. I think you can count on that.
So you have our word for tonight, kerfuffle. I like that word.
Kerfuffle,
Kerfuffle, do you
and
know what it means or where it comes from? I think it means a hassle, right? Or a controversy?
right, just a little bit of a controversy, and also fisticuffs. I thought I was pretty good with that word
Yeah, I
too.
like it.
I'm gonna keep bringing my word game
I like
tonight.
it. It's good. Um, Gene, I thought I'd read a lot about this story, and you're an expert on following baseball closely. And John LaCroix, the veteran catcher, had an article, or at least he was quoted in an ESPN article today, about how they knew, other teams knew about the Astros for 2 years, and when they went to Houston, they were constantly changing their signs, but somehow the Astros have a computer type system that would break it down almost as fast as they could change it. Did you read this story as well and have any thoughts?
Yeah, I did, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, and you come to find out that this really kind of started in the front office, which is why you look back at Jeff Luhnow getting fired. A lot of people wondered about that. Well, you come to find out it was an intern that kind of came up with this whole algorithm and a way to start this whole problem. So yeah, no, I read that, and the thing that bothers me the most about the whole thing, Paul, is that teams contacted Major League Baseball about the Houston Astros and the cheating a long time before anything was ever done. Mike Fiers coming out publicly and saying something was the straw that broke the camel's back. But as you said, Jonathan Lucroy and a whole bunch of other teams, the Oakland Athletics said that they called the commissioner's office back early in 2017 to complain and to say, hey, they're cheating, and we know they're cheating, and nothing was ever done. So that's why I think part of the problem with Rob Manfred right now, of course he keeps inserting foot in mouth and shoving it deeper every time he speaks. But I think that's part of the problem people have with him right now is everybody knows that teams were complaining about the Astros for years, and it wasn't until Fiers finally called them. And when he came out publicly, Manfred had no choice. But until then, he sat on it, and I think that's what has people so worked up.
But isn't this part of the old baseball rules that you don't squeal on each other, and they've always tried to steal signs? But this just went to a whole new level, and I've read a bunch of players commenting like, not only does this affect the Dodgers or the Yankees, and we can talk which one may have won the World Series if Houston wasn't in there, but they were talking about how it affected these guys who were pitchers on the edge of making the team or not, and if they got bombed by the Astros, I mean, that might have affected their pay or their career in some way. So they were saying how this affected a lot of different people. Kendall, who was I forget his first name, who was in the major leagues for a long time, had over 3,000 hits. He was on Dan Patrick's show yesterday, and he was saying if he knew as much as the Astros knew, he could have hit way up high in the 300s, maybe even 400. And I thought that might have been stretching it a little too far.
Yeah.
Well, that was Jason Kendall, who was a long time catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates and a bunch of other teams. Well, Giancarlo Stanton came out the other day, and he said, if he knew it was coming that year, he had all those home runs down in Miami. He said, I would have hit 80.
Yeah. I think that's a little exaggeration, but what about the old school baseball rules? Do you think that the baseball did not respond because they said this is just part of the undercurrent?
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope. I'll tell you why. They've had on. I watch the Major League Baseball Network all the time, and they've had on guys like John Smoltz and Cliff Floyd and guys that played in the game for a long time and went through scenarios. What's okay, what's not okay. And the bottom line is this: if you're on second base and you've got a way to figure out what's coming, and you can let the hitter know, or if you're at the third base coach and you can find out what's coming and you've got a way to let the hitter know, have at it, because there's nothing wrong with that. As soon as you start using binoculars or cameras or any kind of device that's off the field of play, that's in the dugout, in the stands, wherever it is, you have crossed the line. So this has nothing to do with unwritten rules. This has to do with flat out, you're introducing something new that was never in the game and should not be allowed.
I think that's very true, and that's why I think other athletes, professional athletes, have spoken out about this. How far can they go? And once again, last time we had a podcast, we talked about how the players, because of the player union, were not being touched through all this. Eric, have you changed your mind? Do you think the players should be held more responsible?
Well, no, I haven't changed my mind on that. I mean, they're the ones who, ultimately did the act. Um, I still think, a big part of the problem is, that um, one, the union, won't hold them accountable. I realize that's probably asking a lot. But if to me, unions, and this goes beyond just baseball, but if you're going to make it so that your members can't be punished for wrongdoing by the company, then there needs to be, some internal mechanism to actually do some punishment there.
Right.
That just makes sort of sense to me. The other piece of that though is that part of the way that Manfred got the Astros players to go on the record that they had cheated was by promising them amnesty or whatever. And okay, if it seems like there was enough evidence even without that to show that they had cheated. So I don't know why he kind of gave away the farm on that. But yeah, I think at this point, and some of the Astros have even come out and said, "I wish I would have just gotten suspended. It would have helped this go away." And maybe they should talk to the union about that. Say, "Hey, look, what can we do to make this go away?" Because I don't think the other players are going to let it go away, and the fans are certainly not going to let it go away.
So, Eric, you live in Houston and you see that market there, and across the country, people really don't believe the Houston Astro players are that contrite. That's my word of the day. They're not that sorry. I mean, they're saying they're sorry, but it doesn't seem very natural or flowing with it. Do you feel like the people in Houston are like, it's no big deal here, move on, and giving them more of a free pass?
Yeah, there's definitely a circle the wagons. Like I said on the podcast last month, there's definitely a circle the wagons thing going on here. I don't think, and this kind of goes back to the last point, I don't think there's any way that the players can adequately apologize for it. So no matter what they say, people aren't going to believe them if there's no punishment involved. So, I just, I mean, if you're a Los Angeles fan, are you ever going to, say, "Oh, okay, well, I guess they said they're sorry"? I mean,
Yeah.
if I was a Dodgers fan, I would still be livid. It would take a lot more than just an sorry kind of deal to get me to.
Well, here's the thing with me. I think if we had one player, if one guy on the Astros would come clean and just say, "Yup, I used it every opportunity I got." Here's what we've got. We've gotten a lot of excuses. We've gotten a lot of, "Oh, we're sorry." But no one player has come out and said, matter of fact, there have been people that say, Carlos Correa tried to, was talking about Jose Altuve coming in the dugout and saying, "I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Stop messing with my," we haven't heard one player come out and say, "I use this system." Nobody will admit to it. That's the problem. Not one person will cop to it. So not only do the apologies sound hollow, nobody is even saying that. Nobody's even admitting that they actually did anything. They're saying we're sorry, but nobody's actually coming out and saying, "Yeah, I did it."
Yeah. So, Gene, do you think this has been a terrible black eye on baseball, or in a way, the ratings are going to be pretty good when LA plays Houston? I mean, they can hype it up.
It's still a black eye. It's not, and this is not. This is not like the Black Sox scandal. I don't think it's to that level because we didn't have people throwing games.
Right.
We had people kind of trying to get an unfair advantage to win a game. You can go back to, if you want, to what happened in the NFL when the Patriots were accused of filming somebody's practice, or Deflategate if you want to go there. It's just something that's going to follow the Astros. That's going to be an albatross around that franchise's neck for as long as it exists. And I heard a great comment. Somebody said, well, they don't have to strip the Astros of the title because in the court of public opinion, they've already been stripped of that title. No one is ever going to think of that title as being legitimate again unless you're a Houston Astros fan.
Do you think that the little leagues have gone too far by not having any teams named Astros in the little leagues? I mean, I think that's gone too far.
My wife said that same thing today when we saw it on the news. I had heard about that this morning. I talked about on my show this morning. My wife saw it on the news tonight, and she said, that seems kind of excessive. I get what they're trying to do. He's trying to say, well, you don't want to take a cheater as an example, but these I think it might be going a little too far. I get what he's trying to do, and he's trying to do the noble thing, I guess, and frankly, maybe he's trying to say, look at me a little bit too much, but whatever.
Right. And for me, I mean, fine. I mean, I think probably nobody wants to be the Astros this year.
This year.
So it probably didn't really have to be a rule, but I think having a press conference, making a statement about it, that's where it went too far. I can see why they would do it, but it's the look at me aspect of that that's kind of like eye rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is a big stain on baseball, and I think baseball needs to have some more positive stories. Last time we talked about it compared to steroids, my friend Ernest thinks that the Astros should embrace it and just say, yeah, we're bad boys, we did it, and we're going to try all we can to beat you the fair way this time. I don't know at this point. But we are talking about baseball more in February.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, that's going to be the Astros rallying cry this year.
Yeah.
They're going to go out and they are going to want to beat the hell out of everybody. And they're going to say, see, you say whatever you want. We were going to beat you anyway.
Wow. Imagine if they made the World Series again.
Wow. I hope they do. I hope it's the Astros and the Dodgers in the World Series again. You know what? If you want a perfect script for how this ends, that would be it.
With the Dodgers winning in 7?
And if there is I was going to say, if there is a God in heaven, then the Dodgers win it in 7 games.
And Kershaw is the winning pitcher.
That's what has to happen to even better. Yeah.
Yeah, Darvish came out about how it wasn't fair, but Darvish was going downhill when he was pitching against the Astros in 2017 anyways. I don't think that was all – it wasn't all stealing.
Well, here's the thing, and people keep talking about how the Astros cheated the Yankees out of getting to the World Series that year. What people seem to forget is the first team that the Astros beat before they got to the Yankees was the Red Sox.
Oh, those poor Red Sox never win anything. They just poor Red Sox.
I'm not even. Here's my point.
You're not helping.
I'm trying to get your blood pressure up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not helping my blood pressure. You're not helping. But here, Chris Sale had a great year that year. This was before any of his injuries. He was dynamite. He got absolutely lit up by Houston in Houston. They were hitting the ball miles, and he couldn't figure out what was going on either. And I remember after the game, he said, "I stunk, no excuses." And then he finds out later that they're cheating, and he goes, well, maybe I didn't stink as much as I thought I did. But, this is a guy that nobody could touch all year,
right?
And they're hitting rockets off of him. So who knows what would have happened then? They might the Astros might not even have gotten to the Yankees. It could have been the Red Sox and the Yankees for the World Series, or to go to the World Series.
Yeah, it stinks. It was just a bad look, and nobody stood up and said, we can't do this. Nobody, the manager, Lynch never said, no, we're done with this, or the president, and the owners tried to apologize twice. I think that nobody said this is the right thing to do. We got to stop it. It says a lot about the players, I think, as well. So
David Ortiz was interviewed today. Sorry, you know what? You keep skipping out on my headset, so I'm not hearing you.
Okay, go ahead. You're fine.
It must be. David Ortiz was at spring training today, and that's the one thing that he said about the cheating thing. He didn't go too much into it. He said, but the one thing I can't understand is why nobody ever stepped up and said, this is wrong, stop it. He said, because if somebody big in that clubhouse, if Jose Altuve or Alex Bregman or George Springer, if one of those guys had stood up and said, stop it right now, it would have ended. But nobody did, and that's the part he can't wrap his head around.
Of course, he also said that Mike Frears was being a snitch. So his opinion.
Yeah, I know. Except that what he objected to isn't that Fiers was against it. Was that Fiers didn't come out and do it in the clubhouse and say, "Hey, stop it."
Yeah,
he did it publicly. That's the issue everybody has with Fiers, is that it was done publicly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. All right, well, let's move on to something else, and that's Major League Baseball new rules.
Thank you.
I've got to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You had enough of that? All right, your blood pressure's okay?
I'm sweating.
We are having a little bit of audio, but we'll keep going here. The MLB has new rules, and the one that gets me sort of riled up, and I think it really affects the flow of the game and the way managers can manage, is that requiring all pitchers to throw to 3 batters unless the inning ends. Is that the way we understand it, Gene?
Yeah, that's how it is. Unless it's the end of an inning, you can pitch to 1 batter and they can change you out after that as long as it's the end of the inning. You know what? I agree with you to a point where it does change the way managers manage, and it's never been that way in the history of baseball. But we have never been to the point where you can have 4 or 5 pitchers in 1 inning now to get 3 outs. It's crazy, and I don't have a problem with this simply because analytics has taken us to a point where we are micromanaging this game. We are micromanaging the fun and the life out of baseball. And I am sick and tired of seeing games, especially in the postseason, where a manager will go out and bring in a different pitcher for every bat. You want to talk about length of games? It's nuts. So I don't know how this is going to play out, and it may end up being an unmitigated disaster. By the way, there's my name. There's my word for the day. Unmitigated.
Good job.
It may be a disaster, but I'm all for trying this. Anything to get the game to, because I disagree with you, Paul. I think this will get the flow of the game back. It will get the game back to the way it used to be before we had what they call the loogies, the lefty only specialist guy.
Loogies means something different to me, but go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Well, loogie was a left-handed only guy. That's what it stands for. Loogy, the loogies. But we didn't have those before. Guys used to get saves. Sparky Lyle and Goose Gossage, when they were getting saves, they would pitch 2 and 3 innings. We didn't have guys going out to pitch 1 inning or 1/3 of an inning. So I'm okay with this. We'll see how it works out. It might be a mess, but I'm okay with trying it.
Eric, what do you think?
Well, I was really against it until Gene made some really good points there. I still, man, it bugs me that the manager, it does take a lot of the manager influence out of the game. And again, it's kind of like some of the rules we talked about, I think it was last year, about how different ways to speed up the game. And I'm always in favor of speeding up the game in the regular season. I don't care as much in the postseason.
Agreed.
I think, play to win, swap pitchers, whatever. Because sometimes, especially if you're in a National League park, you can kind of paint yourself into a corner if you start swapping too much. Although it seems like in postseason they just have. Do they carry more pitchers? It seems like their pitchers go on forever. But I think the regular season games are the ones that really need more of a goose to get them over. Because a 4-hour regular season game under most circumstances is just ridiculous, and it happens. It happens more often than not. Well, maybe not more often than not.
Well, and it may maybe we'll find that this will be something that will be a regular season only rule. If they decide this works, but they want to relax it for the postseason, I'd be okay with that, because you're right. Postseason baseball is a different thing, but I'm sick and tired of Red Sox Yankee games going 4 hours and 15 minutes on a Sunday night game that starts at 7:00 and I'm up till midnight. It's insane.
Yeah. That's not, especially for you that you have to get up and actually be coherent in the morning.
Yes. Well, or semi,
whatever.
In light of the recent controversy of the Astros, it's been proposed another new rule should be that there should be a audio system to the pitcher and the catcher, so that the catcher can speak the signals into the microphone, and just those two plus maybe even the manager would be on the same signal, much like football has the quarterback and the coach on the same wavelength. Are you guys in favor of that, Gene?
No. How's that?
No. I've never heard you do a one-word answer before. I was shocked.
Well, I think there's too many. I think there's too many things that can go wrong. Number one, you're asking a guy who's going to be sweating his rear end off to put something in his ear. I think that's and you're not going to have him wear a full headset. I think there's too many things that can go wrong. I think it'll be uncomfortable. Then what happens when the headset goes out the same way it happens in football? Then nobody can use them. And I just look. Here's the deal. Well, here's what we know about the cheating thing. They figured out the Astros were cheating. So last year, anytime anybody played the Astros, they mixed up their signs to the point where the Astros couldn't cheat. It was almost impossible. And so I think that I don't think it's necessary. I just don't.
All right, Eric, what do you think? Technology?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not afraid to try out some other technology to get around other technology that that the Astros are using. I think that's okay if it works. Test it out, see what happens. Don't make it so that it has to be that way. But if that's a legal thing, might as well do it. And I'm saying that as a Chiefs fan who had watched Elvis Gerback completely lose his mind and not be able to call at all because his headset went out.
Let it go, Eric. Let it go, Eric. It's 20
No,
years
I can't
ago,
let
man.
it go. I know, and we just won the Super Bowl. But yeah, Gerback blew it against the Broncos at home when we were on our way to the Super Bowl.
Elvis left this decade, man. Let it go.
Elvis Gerback, don't get me started. Anyway,
All right, so we're moving on. I know how you both
Blood
feel
pressure.
about machines calling balls and strikes. I just can't believe they're even thinking about that. But
madness.
yeah, that would take way too much. But one of the things that I'd like to talk about this time of year is comeback players. I think every year there's a player or two that got injured the year before. And when I was a young boy, there was always a player that I think, oh, come on, Kaline, you can go one more year. Or, Willie Horton or some player that I really loved, but you could tell he was getting older or he was coming off injury and could he regain his old form? And you probably know that Ichiro is throwing with the Mariners as a pitcher, maybe as a publicity stunt, maybe not, but there's a potential comeback player of the year. So who knows? Do you guys have any ideas of comeback players of the year? Or maybe you could draw back on your fabulous memory of baseball and talk about other great comeback players of the year.
Well, they haven't officially had the comeback player. That's only been an official thing in baseball since 2005. It was never an
Oh, really?
official comeback player of the year award until 2000. Yeah, it wasn't until 2005. So I'll tell you a guy that the greatest comeback player of all, Ted Williams.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
In 1942, the guy hits 350, and then takes the next 3 years off to serve in the military. Comes back in 1946, it hits 342 with 38 homers and 123 runs batted in. That's not too bad. So he would be my. I think that's the great. And by the way, just to follow that up, he took 2 years off to fight in Korea as well, and came back and hit 345 the year he came back in 1954 from the Korean War with 30 homers and 90
That's
runs
just
batted in.
showing
So he's the
off,
great. Yeah.
man.
So he's the greatest comeback player of all time.
Nice.
That's a good one.
See, I did my homework.
Way to go,
Yeah,
Gene.
I was thinking about that, and I was it, obviously not nearly as dramatic as Ted Williams, but Rick Ankiel. I don't know if you remember back when he
Yes.
was pitching with St. Louis,
Cardinals. Yep.
and and he totally got I think he said he got a case of the yips in the playoffs,
Yep.
and he threw 5 wild pitches in a row and just completely lost his ability to pitch, not in a barely off the strike zone. He couldn't, he was throwing it to the backstop.
Yeah, that was
crazy. And then
meltdown for the
he,
ages.
yeah. And he, sort of reinvented himself as a right fielder and came back and his first at bat hits a home run. And he ended up playing, I think, another 3 or 4 years as an outfielder. So I think that's a kind of a nice
That's a
story. Yep.
I have a story, and I realized the other day my son had never heard the story of Ron LaFleur. Ron LaFleur played for Detroit Tigers outfield, and he actually was in jail. And after he got out of jail, had a tryout and made the Tigers and really straightened out his life. And they made a movie, and I wonder if you guys remember the guy that played him in the movie.
Oh wow.
No,
No, I don't remember.
I
Think
don't even remember the
Reading
movie.
Rainbow. LeVar Burton played him.
You know,
Really?
you know what? I was going to say that too, but because that was right around around time of Roots.
Yes, it was.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who my comeback player of the year candidate is this year. I think it's going to be, at least I hope it's going to be, because I really like this guy, Scooter Gennett.
Oh, okay.
This is a guy that was a great player, and last year got hurt. Hit 226 last year. After 2 years in a row hitting 300 or better, hitting 25 to 30 home runs and driving in 90 plus runs every year, and basically got given away for a bag of balls. And so I think he's my candidate this year. Right now he's still a free agent, but he is going to get a job somewhere, and he's going to rake. I just got a feeling he's only 29 years old, so I think he's my candidate this year for comeback player.
I thought you were going to talk about Pedroia, your second baseman.
He's not coming back. He's done.
He's so done, huh?
His career is as done as mine.
Wow. That's a pretty strong statement. Eric, do you have any other comeback players you want to talk about?
For this year, I think Noah Syndergaard's got to come back. I mean, the 4.3, almost 4.28 ERA last year. I think he's primed for a comeback. I mean, obviously, Stanton is coming back, from injury. Yep. He could have a good year, but Syndergaard's probably my pick of a guy who's. I know. Sorry, but I think Syndergaard has a pretty good shot at coming back this year.
So you think
matter of fact, by the way, Eric, his name it's Syndergaard.
Syndergaard. I always always call.
That's all right because. No, you know what though? Because now I'm going to do that all year on my show. He is now going to be Syndergaard every time I talk about him. I just wrote that down. I just wrote that down right next to my my mixer here when I do my show. So I will not forget to call him that. That is
because Eric's a big Duke Snider fan. That's why I just sort of slipped in there.
Duke Snider fan, absolutely.
Well, that's his new name as far as I'm Syndergaard.
Snyder.
Love it. Look forward
Snyder.
Outstanding.
Snyder. All right. Well, guys, we have one more segment for the show, and it's called Game of Fabulous Baseball Quotes. And I'm going to give you a quote and two people that could have said it, and then you can guess who said it. And some of these are pretty old, but then again, we're getting a little old too, so maybe we'll know these. So, Gene, you ready to go?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I know the enthusiasm's just overwhelming me right now.
Well, because I don't like looking like a fool. And just I got a bad feeling about
this.
They
can't see you on a podcast, Gene. It's okay.
Okay. All right, good.
Unlike your Facebook. Hey, folks, if you want to see Gene, though, you can see him on Facebook just by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh. I really debated whether to do that or not. Because now I got to do my hair. And
oh, that takes 2 seconds, right?
Yeah. That's about it.
All right. Here we go.
It's really the only way to enjoy Gene's show.
That's right. All right, so we're having a little bit of delay on here, so we'll try to keep it good for the listener here. All right, here are the two quotes, or one quote, and I'll give you two choices. The quote is, "Slump, I'm not in a slump, I'm just not hitting." Did Yogi Berra say that, or Babe Ruth?
Yogi Berra.
You're right, Yogi Berra said that. Babe Ruth said this: "Never allow the fear of striking out to keep you from playing the game." So Babe was a little more optimistic than Yogi.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Eric, you ready for your quote?
Yeah, fire away.
All right. Who said, "If my uniform doesn't get dirty, I haven't done anything in the baseball game"? Did Ricky Henderson or Pete Rose say that?
I'm going to have to go with Pete Rose.
And Ricky Henderson. Pete Rose did.
Really? I would have said the same thing.
Pete Rose said, "Playing baseball for a living is like having the license to steal." So, I know.
Can't argue for that.
Yeah.
All right, Gene, here's your quote.
Just ask Astros.
Your quote is this: "I could have played baseball another year, but that would have been playing for the money, and baseball deserves better than that." Who said that? George Brett or Hank Aaron?
Hank Aaron.
You are wrong. George Brett said that.
Oh, really?
Really?
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Eric's favorite
For
player of
him.
all time, I think.
It's true. Yeah.
I like him even more.
Yeah, Hank Aaron actually said, "Well, it took me 17 years to get 3,000 hits in baseball, and I did that in one afternoon on the golf course."
Sounds like me.
Awesome.
I know.
Yeah, and Hank did play for a long time, so maybe that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And George, I mean, he won the batting title a couple of years before he left the game.
All right. So I'm trying to remember. I'm with who's next up here? Eric, are you up?
Eric.
Yes.
Eric is.
All right, Eric. We're into the manager section. These are the old time managers. So here's the quote: "Being with a woman all night never hurt no professional baseball player. It's staying up all night looking for a woman that does him in." Did Casey Stengel or Leo DeRocher say that?
I'm going to go with Leo DeRocher. Leo the Lip.
Leo Lip? No, you're wrong. Casey Stengel
I'm wrong
said
again.
it.
Darn it.
But Leo
They
said,
should've-
Leo said, "Baseball is like church. Many attend, but few understand." Ooh.
That's true. That's true.
All right, Gene, here's your quote. "There are 3 types of baseball players: those who make it happen, those who watch it happen, and those who wonder what happened." Who said that? Tommy Lasorda or Sparky Anderson?
Sparky Anderson.
You're wrong again. Tommy
Really?
Lasorda said that.
I told you I don't like looking like a fool.
I know.
Hey,
I know.
you're doing better than me.
I know. This is just fun for
See,
me.
you're right. You're right. I'm 1 for 3. I'm in the Hall of Fame.
Sparky Anderson said, "A baseball manager is a necessary evil." So there you go. And the last category we have is from the movies. So Eric, ready?
Sure.
I'm going to name a quote, and then you get double points if you can name the movie. And if you can't name the movie, just off the top of your head, I'll give you 2 choices. So
Okay.
the quote is this: "How can you not be romantic about baseball?"
Bull Durham.
That is incorrect. Your two
What?
choices are Moneyball or The Sandlot.
Sandlot.
No, you're wrong again.
I'm wrong again. I'm
Gene's out in the
terrible at
lead
this.
now. That was Moneyball. All right, next quote.
Which is sad because I've never actually watched Sandlot.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Really?
I know. Everybody is shocked when I say that.
Wow.
But I've watched Moneyball like 5 times. I love that movie.
Next one for Gene is.
It's like the least romantic baseball movie of all time. Anyway,
That's good, yeah. All right, the next one, Gene, is yours. "All I know is when we win a game, it's a team win. When we lose a game, it's a team loss." Do you want the choices, or do you know that one?
Bull Durham.
No, it's not Bull Durham. So your choices
Okay.
are the Bad News Bears or the Sandlot.
The Bad News Bears.
You are right. Boom, boom, boom. Gene just pulls ahead by a lot there.
Blind squirrel.
Yeah. All right. There's some so obvious that I'll just say it because we all like it. There's no crying in baseball. A League of Their Own.
Yes.
The other one is You Want to Have a Catch, The Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
And then here are 2 quotes, and both of them are from the same movie. And I'll give you the less known one. Eric, ready?
Yep.
"Never root for a team whose uniforms have elastic stretch waistbands." And the other quote is, "I see great things in baseball. It's our game, the American game. It will repair our losses. It will be a blessing to us all." They're both from the same movie. You said it earlier.
Oh, it's Bull Durham?
It is.
I don't remember either of those quotes from Bull Durham.
I don't either.
Those are the
I
top
see that would
ones.
be like,
Hey,
I
the
don't remember.
internet can't be wrong, can it?
what? It's not something from the
You know-
speech?
You know the quote I remember the most from Bull Durham? There's candlesticks. They make it good when he's out on the mound and they're talking about it with candlesticks.
All right, so I do have a bonus category because you guys just love this game so much, and this is just the funny category. All
I can
right,
hardly wait. I guess I finally got one right. I was afraid I was going to
yes,
get
you
completely
did.
skunked.
Gene,
Attaboy.
Gene, what famous center fielder said this? You know, a lot of people say they didn't want to die until the Red Sox won the World Series. Well, there could be a lot of busy ambulances tomorrow.
I don't
Outfield
know.
Jesus. Who was that?
Johnny Damon.
Yeah, Johnny Damon. He said that. All right, Eric, which president said this? I watch a lot of baseball on radio.
Gosh, I'm going to go with George W. Bush.
No, Gerald Ford said that.
Ford.
Yeah,
Good old
I could have gone with
Ford.
that. Yeah.
Who would
perfect.
forget Chevy Chase's imitation
Michigan
of him?
native. Yeah. Imitation is generous.
All right, Gene, your question for humor. Who said, after Jackie Robinson, the most important black in baseball history is Reggie Jackson?
Who said that?
Yep.
Reggie Jackson said.
That's
Yes,
what I
he did. He did say
He
that.
did. I was going to say, jeez, that guy.
So lovable, right?
Oh,
All right, Eric, here we go.
Okay.
This famous announcer that was in a great baseball movie said this: the way to catch a knuckleball is to wait until the ball stops rolling and then pick it up.
Bob Bucher.
You know it, Bob Euchre.
I did not know that quote, but obviously I do. Only so many baseball announcers have been in games, famously, or been in
Right.
movies, famously.
Right.
right.
And Gene, we're going to end it with you. This guy, I'll just give you a clue, played for the Baltimore Orioles. He was a big-time hitter for a while. He said, a man once told me to walk with the Lord. I'd rather walk with the bases loaded.
That's an excellent quote.
It's not Boog Powell.
Bo-
It's not Boog
that's
Powell.
what I was going to say.
It's an African-American
not-
guy, played in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh. Al Bundy?
Can I guess?
Yeah, Al Bundy, no.
Barry Bonds.
No, I actually got this guy's signature at one of the All-Star Fest when they were in Baltimore. Ken Singleton.
Ken Singleton.
That's
He's
a
an
wrap.
Oh,
announcer.
okay.
All right.
Yeah,
The Yankees.
The Yankees, yeah.
Yeah, he was really nice. My son was like 3 years old, and we were walking around and looking at things, and we got a hat, and he signed our hat. Still have it, so it was a really nice guy at that
Yeah,
point.
he's a great guy. I've met him several times. Really, really nice guy.
Right. All right, and we're going to end with, I didn't tell these guys, who would you like to see in the Hall of Fame next year, guys? I mean, we've had a bunch of players get close. We got some players who are not making it in because of what they've done. There's been a recent push to get Pete Rose back on the ballot. Gene, who would you like to see in the Hall of Fame next year?
Well, it won't be popular, but Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens, the Rocket.
I mean, you look here. Like we've had this conversation before, and you can say whatever you want. Steroids, no steroids. He's one of the best pitchers in the history of baseball, and the stuff he did before he supposedly did the juice was enough to get him into the Hall of Fame. Kind of like the same way I feel about Barry Bonds, and the same thing I say about both those guys. There was no testing in place when they were doing what they were doing, so they did not technically do anything against the rules of baseball. They never got caught cheating. They never failed the drug test. How do you keep them out other than you decided arbitrarily that they shouldn't be in? Now, guys like Manny Ramirez or Alex Rodriguez who flunked tests and you know for a fact did it, I have no trouble leaving them out. But those guys that did it or that supposedly did it, but we don't know for sure, how do you keep them out? I guarantee you Mike Piazza used steroids. He's in the Hall of Fame. And I guarantee you there's other guys in there that did it as well, and we don't know.
Yeah.
And we'll never know. So how do you keep out guys that did not fail a drug test?
Good points. Eric, who would you like to see in the Hall of Fame?
I'm looking at the eligibles for 2021. I'm cheating, basically.
Yes. Just like the Astros.
Hey, well,
Sorry.
I'm just using technology.
Yeah, yeah, nothing wrong with this. Yeah, just don't look this way.
Right. Man,
Nothing to see here.
the class for next year doesn't have a lot of slam dunks in it. Gosh, Torrey Hunter is maybe
No
277
way.
average.
Nah,
Yeah,
I can't
no.
see him.
Yeah, this is a pretty thin class for next year.
I
Boy,
mean,
so I'm gonna
Kurt
have to
Schilling.
go.
I think Kurt Schilling's got a chance to get in next year.
Oh gosh, I just hate Kurt Schilling with a
You-
passion. So
I know you,
he will not.
but you can't. You can't hold
He's-
against. You can't
I
hold
know.
against what he's doing now. That's the problem.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
talk
I know.
about
I
that he's
know.
a right-wing nut job, but Ty Cobb was a racist. So what do you know?
Yeah, that's true, and you can't deny him, right?
Right.
Yeah. Still, he's not going to get my vote. Not that I have a vote.
I get it.
I'm trying to. They don't have like the old people here.
Well,
yeah, I don't have a good. I don't have a
Okay.
good. I'm trying to think of somebody who has, because Bert Blyleven finally got in.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Man, let's see.
Well, let me tell a story while you're doing that.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Yeah. Let me look.
Well, I noticed somebody pointed out to me, and I read an article that Ty Cobb was such a jerk and had so much attitude. But if you look at all the photos of him after he was retired, he always has his hand on a guy's shoulder. He's always like being right there, right next to guys. It was like he missed a camaraderie so much that it humanizes him a little bit when you look at all these pictures after the point he retired. I think he realized he probably went too far. And for my player, this will never happen, but sentimental reasons, I'd like to see Sweet Lou Whitaker get in on the veterans vote, but I don't think he will. He didn't bat high enough, but I'll never forget the time he hit a two-run homer in the upper deck where my grandmother and I were sitting in Tiger Stadium. And it was the last Tiger game my grandmother went to see, and it was the year 1984 when they won it all. So, Sweet Lou Whitaker, I wish you could make it into the Hall of Fame just for me and my grandma.
You know what? I can't argue that. I mean, if Alan Trammell's in, Lou Whitaker should be in. Those two
Yeah,
guys
agreed.
are joined at the hip, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Yeah, that should have been a twofer.
yeah. I thought, Eric, you're going to bring up somebody like your favorite KC guy or something.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking sentimental, Frank White to me should be in the Hall of Fame. I think he should be anyway. But I mean, Frank White, I mean, perennial Golden Glove winner, second baseman who, he hit, incredibly well in a stadium that did not lend itself to, a power hitter. He's just a legend in Kansas City. I don't think he was ever even really close. I think he should have gotten in, and that's because the Hall of Fame always devalues defense, and he was one of the all-time great.
Unless you're Ozzie
second
Smith,
baseman.
so.
Right. I mean, you've got to be otherworldly to get in.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys, for doing the podcast. Listening to Boys of Summer, our podcast, folks. We appreciate your time. You can listen to Gene on Monday through Friday on sportscountry.net. And Eric's busy with his own career out in Houston, waving that Kansas City Chiefs flag as much as possible. If you have any questions or comments, send it to me at gobluearnold@gmail.com. And have a great night.